Hello everyone. I've decided to do a series of podcasts about limiting beliefs and the effect they have on us and how we can change them and actually bring new beliefs into our brain that will change the way that we live and what we see in our lives. They come up for all my clients. They have done in all my career working with clients over the years. And also affirmations. And so the first thing I want to look at today actually is affirmations, because I can remember so many times having people who said they didn't like affirmations. One particular lady I remember many years ago, she came to me when I was a health kinesiologist and she was feeling pretty awful, and she told me that she'd been to see a practitioner who'd helped her and had come up with a positive affirmation for her to say. This lady had, by the way, was absolutely beautiful, in her 30s, dark curly hair. She was very, very bonny, and she had very low self-esteem for all kinds of reasons, things that were going on in her life. And she had been told that it would be very useful to repeat, I can't remember how many times, but quite a lot of times per day, looking in a mirror to say, I am beautiful. And she'd done that for the required number of weeks. And in fact, she felt that she was feeling worse rather than better. And when we did some muscle testing around it, we found that in fact, the problem was that she didn't believe that affirmation. So she was actually repeating something that in a way was bringing her attention to what she didn't believe. So it was taking her back to the original belief that for some reason she wasn't beautiful, that she was ugly. So we had to work on getting rid of and moving on from that original belief before she would be able to use a positive belief like that. And I think over the years I've used affirmations a lot with people, but it's been very fascinating to see how many people feel that they don't believe the affirmation, and they're absolutely right. If they don't believe an affirmation, then it won't work for them. It won't do what it looks as if it should be going to do. And I want to just think about what affirmations really are, because we usually use the word when we're talking about something we've made up and we've formulated a sentence that we're going to repeat, which does work. It does help the brain, because by repetition, we actually form new neural pathways in the brain. But of course, we need to look first at what affirmations really mean to us, because we're using them all the time. So you don't have to go and see a practitioner or read a book about affirmations to be doing affirmations. You'll find that you're actually using affirmations every day. Unfortunately, for many of us, we're using affirmations that aren't really helping us. So if you've heard yourself say, what an idiot I am, or oh, I'm so stupid, then that's you repeating an affirmation. So, for example, you come out of the supermarket, you went in specially to buy tomatoes, and you've come out with a whole bag full of shopping, but no tomatoes. And you find yourself saying, oh, how stupid I am. And you go back in to buy the tomatoes. Now, just imagine what's happening when you're repeating that every time you forget something, every time you forget your shopping list. Every time you go and see a friend and you've forgotten to bring the bottle of wine that you left on the table at home. If you find yourself doing that, then you're repeating that affirmation and you're feeding energy to a belief that you have in your subconscious mind. That is something around being not very clever or being stupid. So although we don't realize, and we're certainly not consciously telling ourselves or not wanting to consciously tell ourselves that we're stupid, we are feeding with that affirmation a belief that we already have in our subconscious. I came across one of mine a few years ago. It was very, very helpful for me to find this belief, because I had a belief around I'm just a nuisance. And I was able to track that back to being with my brothers many, many years ago when I was a little girl, wanting to be a boy like them because they always seemed to have so much more fun. And of course, they didn't want their little sister tagging along, and probably did say to me something along the lines of, you're just a nuisance. But the effect that that had in later life, and probably all the way through my life, and most certainly all the way through my life, was I can remember at university walking past down a street, past the door of a group of friends who lived together, and thinking, oh, they're probably having their evening meal, or they've probably got friends already there, and walking on past rather than knocking on the door, even though I needed the company. And that carried on in other ways in my life. So in fact, letting go of that belief was very important to me. And I was able to do that with the help of my coach. I do recommend that you have help with the practitioner, especially with the coach, who's used to working with limiting beliefs and helping you to clear them. Because a lot of, especially the deeply held beliefs like lack of worthiness, we do really need help often to get to the bottom of those, to get to what the belief really is, find the energy around it and be able to clear it successfully, to then be able to bring up and find a new belief. And that's when affirmations become very, very useful indeed. Because once we have our new belief in place, then we can repeat that belief or an affirmation that we word around that belief in positive language in the present, so that we've already achieved it. So I'm a special and unique person might be a good replacement for I'm just a nuisance. And repeating that out loud is very helpful. Repeating it many times in a day and for several weeks. Often it's recommended for at least 21 days, because it seems to take that length of time to form a new neural network in the brain. And that's actually what we're doing. So instead of feeding energy by thinking I'm just a nuisance to that old belief pattern that does not serve me in any way, instead of feeding energy to that neural network, I'm then producing a new one. So it's firing neurons in a new network, a new pattern. And we need to fire it often enough, take enough energy to that it becomes consolidated in the brain. And instead of going to the old one because it's familiar, the brain starts to go to the new one instead. So what I'd suggest that you do before my next podcast, where we're going to look at clearing beliefs, I do suggest that you have a notepad at hand, and for the next week, for every day, just write down the sorts of things you're saying about yourself, the judgments you're making, the negative talk, that self-talk that you hear yourself doing. Just jot them down so that you have something to work on when we look at what the beliefs might be that are causing you to say those things about yourself. It would be very helpful to stop saying them. But using our willpower, our conscious mind, doesn't really work. It can do over a long period of time, but it would take a lot of hard work and a lot of energy. It works much better and it's much more effective to go into the subconscious, find what the belief is that's causing us to make that negative self-talk, and letting go of the energy around that belief, and then formulating a new one. So we'll look at that next time. I recommend that you do note down that negative self-talk, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.